Live. This is Bebo Knows number 144, the 2025 NFL Preview Edition. This is your host, Brian Bullock, and let me get this started for you. But right now I have Mr. Seth Burn with me. Welcome back once again, Seth.
Brian, as always, good to be here.
And at this time last year, we were recording this in a hotel room in the city. We had just gotten drinks from a guy named Sosa, and
Yeah.
we were hours away from having some steaks with Rick and Chris. But I'll be having pizza with you soon, so I guess that's a nice consolation prize.
Yeah, I really much enjoyed having that dinner and seeing Rick and Chris. I actually would like to get back to Chicago at some point in the next year. That was good times. And yeah, I'm looking forward to the pizza as well.
Okay, so yeah, and we'll get to that later because that is like I know we've exchanged some messages about that, but for people who might be going to New York at some point, like you'll have some thoughts on New York pizza places and maybe some other food places that New York's like you can't really pinpoint one thing in New York with food, I'm sure, but like maybe just go over some of your your touristy recommendations. But let's go into the what everybody's here for, the preview pod. So we are starting with how we normally start with these, with kind of a brief overview of the previous draft, which we did about 4.5 months ago, I guess now. So yeah, let's just go into that. So like, what are like as far as the draft played out? How did it play out? Who do you have high hopes for? Who do you suspect may struggle, be a bust, things like that? Any other draft fallout you want to discuss is welcome as well.
So I guess we really should start with the number one overall pick, Cam Ward. Like going into the draft, actually, let me step back. During this regular season, we thought like Shedeur Sanders and Cam Ward, one of them was going one of them was going two. And then before the draft, it became clear that Cam Ward was going first overall. And there were some rumors that teams didn't necessarily love Shedeur, but because it's bullshitting season, you never know how they really feel until the actual picks played out. So like we expected Ward to go first, and after that, we weren't sure what was going to happen with Sanders. And yeah, I'll be rooting for Ward. We're going to talk about him later. He's going to have to fix his footwork, but otherwise, he looked like a potential franchise NFL quarterback. And so that's what we're going to look to see out of Tennessee because CJ Stroud and Jayden Daniels both had great first years. And yes, they both went second overall, but it is possible for a quarterback to come in and show out. So that's one of the things I'm going to look for. And then so this was from Hagrid NFL. If a mega sharp comes calling for liquidity right before the draft, don't answer the phone. The call is coming from inside the house. Tried to steal my digital guild, sneaky hobbitses. Yeah, and that's referring to will the Cleveland Browns take Travis Hunter number 2 overall? And while Hunter did go, in fact, number 2 overall, he did not go to the Cleveland Browns. So good move sniffing out the trap, Hagrid. Like I was not expecting that trade. And the Jaguars have pushed all in on a non-quarterback, which is always ballsy. And if he's not a unicorn, like they just screwed themselves. And even if he is a unicorn, then maybe they break even on the trade. So not great process from Jacksonville. I do think Hunter is special, but like there's no way I'm making that trade. And number 3, I mean, we were expecting Abdul Carter to the Giants at that point. There wasn't another premium blue chip on the board. And then the draft went chalk for picks 4 through 6, but all of them look awkward because there wasn't any real value options there. Cute kitty.
Panther. Yeah, she's well fed today, so she's okay.
Kitty.
Yeah.
And so like number 4 overall, Will Campbell to the Patriots, even before the draft. When I was writing up my NFL preview, I said, I really hope he goes to New England because good luck with those short arms in the NFL. And he's going to be a really interesting pick simply because if he succeeds, then short arms don't matter as much as we thought they did. Like he played in the SEC, he played against top edge rushers and was able to hold his own and do better than that. But now he's in the NFL, tougher test. Mason Graham is also a bit undersized, number 5, but at least the Browns picked up extra picks to get him. Good call. And then we have a running back going 6th overall to the Raiders. Like Jeanty is a great running back, but I just can't imagine any running back being a top 10 value for the foreseeable future. And I don't think he'll be either, but I mean, the NFL obviously disagrees. And I did not love Membu to the Jets at number 7, but maybe he'll be a great right tackle. And that if he is a great right tackle, he's worthy at number 7. Like Penix Sewell on the Lions is a right tackle, and he's awesome. And he's been worthy of his number 5 overall pick. So if Membu could be 80% as good as Sewell, yeah, I'm really happy.
So going back to Jeanty at 6, do you think the current landscape where there's been like some actual like, I'm not saying like they're still not producing the value that you would want for like a top 10 pick, but the fact that Bijan and Gibbs have done so well to start their years, like do you think there's like a short-term bias, like, oh yeah, these guys did well, so like let's keep up with this? Like, do you think there's anything like that?
So I think there's 4 running backs we have to talk about in that context. You named 2 of them,
Okay.
Bijan, Gibbs, and the other 2 are Barkley, and I'm blanking on the guy with the Ravens.
Henry.
Thank you, Travis Henry.
Yeah. Derrick Henry. Yeah.
Derrick Henry.
Yeah.
Like both of them, were able to change their situations and put up monster numbers, which shows you how much context matters for running backs. And I agree, Bijan has been awesome. I agree, Gibbs has been also put in a great situation to succeed. Bijan has not, but he's overcome that because he's just a really great running back. So it is possible that has influenced league thinking. And it's also possible that I'm undervaluing elite running backs in that context. But I'm still pretty skeptical.
Okay.
And I do agree with you. Like, this was not the only round 1 running back. So, so the league still thinks that they matter, still think the talent at that position matters. I just think the positional value is less than the league thinks.
Okay. So. All right. So you leaving off with, I think Tet McMillan was your next.
Yeah, he was a guy who I would have been ecstatic had the Jets taken him. He was a guy who I like. He could have gone as high as number 4, and I don't think that would have been a reach. He was my number 1 non-Travis Hunter wide receiver in the draft. And I do think he's going to be good. I do not think he landed in the best situation, but maybe he will prove me wrong. Maybe Carolina will prove me wrong. I don't know. Let's see. There was a bit of a surprise at 12. No one was expecting Tyler Booker to go that high because he's a guard. Fun fact, Dallas is now has 3 guys named Tyler on their offensive line. So, okay. Tyler, block the guy.
Yeah.
The one guy I truly loved, like if I had to say my single favorite player in the entire draft, it was the tight end Harold Fannin. And I was kind of sad that he went to Cleveland, but I don't know. I'll still be rooting for him. Like if this were a draft pod, we could talk about a lot of the wide receivers, edges, like offensive tackles. But like this is not a draft pod, so let's focus on the quarterbacks.
Yeah, that's the money position. So
exactly. So the Giants traded up to grab Jackson Dart. The trade was at a reasonable price. I didn't love him as a prospect, but he has looked so good in practice in the preseason. Like everyone I know who has access to Giants people tells me that they absolutely love him. So like he's looked good so far, but this is preseason. It's not real football yet, so we can't really know what they have, but so far signs look good. Tyler Shuck at 40, it seemed really early for Shuck. Like on my draft preview and in my NFL preview, I post a link to him throwing in practice, and that arm just does not look NFL level to me. And I actually kind of wonder, is that a stealth tank move in case Rattler learned how to play football? One of those fans who are looking like the guy they clearly want is Arch Manning. So I don't really know what they were doing drafting Shuck there. That was a surprise to me.
And I think if I'm not mistaken, if I've read something that he's like the last person that'll be drafted born before the year 2000. I think.
So there are three. I actually looked at this when I thought that was an amazing stat. And there were, I think, three viable candidates that could be in this year's draft.
Okay.
And all of them are in the seventh round or undrafted free agent range. So if one of them has a good season this year, he might not be. But it'll be a fun thing to watch and look out for.
Yeah.
Jalen Milroe, he went 92. He's with Seattle. He's a premium athlete. He's much better with his legs than his arm, though. And we have seen Alabama quarterbacks develop from that skill set. But he didn't show enough in college for me to be confident he'll be able to do that. So we're going to have to wait and see. But I mean, even if he's just really useful in short yardage situations like that, he could be value there. Also, backup quarterbacks don't come cheap. And if he ends up being their backup quarterback, they can live with that. And then we have 94 and 144. Both the Cleveland Browns. We have Dylan Gabriel, who I view as a homeless man's Bo Nix. I watched him at Oregon. I did not think he was going to be an NFL quarterback. And then we have Shedeur Sanders, who I watched in Colorado, and I did think was going to be an NFL quarterback. And the NFL clearly disagreed. I was down on Sanders before the draft, but not the same way the NFL was down on Sanders before the draft.
Yeah,
no one.
Yeah, the market spoke. I think you can excuse the drop out of round one because that happens all the time, and people get misevaluated quite a bit. But that was that was if you would have taken live odds on which round he would have ended up in, I couldn't imagine what round 5 odds would have been, 20-1, 50-1. I don't even know what the true odds would have been.
Yeah, there actually probably were odds on that, and I just didn't grab them, didn't even look. Actually, no, there probably weren't. It was probably not a question of whether or not he'd go into what round. There were over-unders, and I was under on him, which should say he would not go early. But again, when he fell out of the first round, I was like, okay, that could happen. And I figured he would go in the second round. Actually, I expected him to go in the second round. And then when he didn't go in the third, just at that point, you're free falling.
Yeah.
I thought you were an NFL quarterback that would have taken you by now. And when they did take him, if you saw any of the video of the Browns draft room, there was not a smile to be found. There's no celebration of the pick, whatever, none of that. The feeling is the owner called in and said, hey, we're taking Sanders now. It's a 5th round pick. Do it. And he went to a draft room where they already had Kenny Pickett, Joe Flacco, Dylan Gabriel, and now he's there as the 4th guy. They were able to trade Pickett, thankfully. So they're down to just those 3, but that was awkward.
Yeah. And isn't there kind of a red flag when you draft 2 quarterbacks in the same draft?
It's unusual. You don't see it often.
I know we had the RG3 and Cousins one back in the day, and that was unusual. That's the one I could think of. I can't think of. There's probably others, but for it to be back-to-back rounds essentially, or give or take within 50 picks, is odd.
I feel like if you're both competing for the same job, it's awkward. So in this case, they're both competing for the number 2 quarterback job, which is, Flacco's obviously going to be number 1. But it's awkward that they're both, again, competing for the same job. It was awkward with RG3 and Cousins, although in that case, obviously RG3 was going to start. And let's just remember, by the way, people are down on RG3, because his Twitter is not great. He's not great on television, but he was an awesome rookie quarterback until Shanahan broke him. That's in the game against Seattle, he should not have been out there. That's on Shanahan. They ruined his career. But as a rookie, he was arguably better than Andrew Luck was, and that's saying something.
Yeah, that was a hell of a rookie year. I don't think that if people weren't watching that season, that they missed out on quite the treat there.
I agree with you. It's less awkward if you take a quarterback in the first round and you take a quarterback in the back half of day 3, that's not awkward.
Yeah.
One guy's the franchise quarterback and one
Sure.
guy's the cheap backup. Like, there's no stress there. There's stress in Cleveland.
Yes. Well, and
go ahead.
that fits that fits their narrative. Like, I guess that just makes sense for Cleveland to have that sort of backdrop. So I guess
Yeah,
if there,
Cleveland is a disaster, and they're going to be a disaster for a while because
yeah,
they're taking the biggest salary cap hit in NFL history with Deshaun Watson. And also, that's
yeah,
not just salary cap; that's real money. The contract was guaranteed. So yeah, they're going to be hurting for a while.
yeah.
At 181, we had Kyle McCord go to Philadelphia as a cheap third quarterback, but he went to Syracuse, so I'm rooting for him. And then at 185, we had a guy who I, honest to God, thought might prove to be like a first-round value quarterback, Will Howard from Ohio State. And I just constantly, I now recognize this about myself. I constantly overvalue Ohio State guys, and part of it is because they play with so much more talent than they're up against, so they look better than they are. But like, I would love if Rodgers were to lose his job to Howard. It would spark so much joy. And I
Like,
believe in Howard. So
yeah, like what? Yeah, like do you think do you see a scenario where Rodgers gets benched for him?
I really don't, unless he's awful. Because I think the Steelers have basically hitched their wagon to him. I don't think they have a plan. I don't think they view Howard as plan B.
Like
Uh,
yeah, there were like I don't remember what resources they were, whether they were legitimate or not, where they were saying like Rodgers said like was trying to dictate the Steelers draft plans, and if they
I have
he didn't,
no doubt he was. That's his
yeah,
MO.
yeah. I mean, it doesn't. I mean, it wouldn't shock me. So I'm that's why I'm not saying it as a matter of fact because I'm not certain if that was true or not. But like, it doesn't sound like something that's like out of the realm of possibility.
Um, Rodgers fancies himself as a GM. He's done so for years. And this is a little different because he doesn't have a lot of time there. He doesn't necessarily have a ton of leverage there. I mean, yes, he's their new starting quarterback, but that was an awkward signing to begin with. That took a while. He eventually signed there. So I don't know. I'm
Yeah,
sure he had thoughts. Let's put it that way.
fair enough.
So
Okay, so I guess we could start with the rest of the off season. So, one topic that when we discussed this earlier this week, that I asked you if there's any like points of emphasis that you wanted to discuss in this podcast. The first thing that came to mind for you was the coaching staff changes, and I know that my city or the city that I'm nearest to with a football team will be happy to hear this discussion, but because you're going to have like a kind of a Chicago and New England emphasis, but yeah, any projected / noticeable upgrades. I mean, I upgrades and downgrades, but like I guess just let's just start with however you want to start.
So I just listed them. I don't even remember why this was the order, but here it is.
Okay.
Dallas has Brian Schottenheimer. He's replacing Mike McCarthy. McCarthy, analytics to his friends, was crap. He was just a bad head coach. He was a bad head coach when he won the Super Bowl. He's a bad head coach in Dallas. But I do not know if Schottenheimer is any better. He was not considered a serious candidate to get the job, and he only got it because Jerry kind of trapped himself. McCarthy wasn't re-signed. They had not been particularly active going after the highly desired coordinators, and they were kind of stuck with Schottenheimer's the last man standing almost. And so we're going to see how that goes. And the bigger issue is like Jerry has not been very good when it comes to long-term planning. And we're going to talk more about that in a bit. So then now we have Chicago. Ben Johnson is replacing Matt Eberflus. This is an enormous upgrade. Johnson was awesome in Detroit. He did a great job of maximizing their attack. Great offensive mind. And the fact that the offense has a chance, Caleb Williams has a chance, the team has a chance, like they're going from incompetence to competence and possible genius. That is a staggering upgrade. And so, yeah, like the big thing was just how bad Eberflus was.
Oh God,
He was
so
so bad,
bad.
I'm giving Williams a mulligan after an awful rookie season. But now the pressure is on both Williams and Johnson to prove it. And my favorite scenario is that Williams has a nice year and he throws for exactly 3,999 yards.
Yeah. Yeah,
New Orleans.
And how many games are they going to have to add for a Bears quarterback to get 4,000? Is what we're going to get to. Like, the 18th game is what it's going to take for them to get a 4,000.
I mean, that might be what it takes. They have a chance this year, but yeah, it would be hilarious if they can't get there until 18.
But yeah, that Eberflus
right.
thing, like, yeah, the whole Thanksgiving debacle, like, just I remember watching that over at my the family Thanksgiving party, just being like I mean, I was delighted because, like, I think if they kicked the field goal, it would have went into overtime, and it would have. I had the Bears and the under, so, like, I was delighted with how it ended. But, like, I was just like, I couldn't believe that, like, that happened. I mean, that was just such a bizarre sequence. I, I don't know.
You know, the Bears had a number of unbelievable crushing endings last season.
They did.
I'm not even sure that's number one. Like,
no, you're the Hail Mary ending. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's true. When the Thanksgiving debacle isn't even like the worst thing. That's true.
Exactly. So Johnson should be an upgrade.
So okay, all right. So let's go on to it looks like
New
you have
Orleans.
Kellen Moore here.
Yep, he's replacing an interim coach, Darren Rizzi, who had in turn replaced Dennis Allen. So let's talk about Kellen Moore for a bit. He had a highly successful season a couple years ago as offensive coordinator in Dallas. And then the year after that, they were not quite as successful. They got blown out by Green Bay in the playoffs, and they mutually parted ways. He then worked with another incompetent head coach, Brandon Staley, in Los Angeles with the Chargers. And then when Staley got whacked, Moore was not retained. Fun fact, Staley is now Moore's defensive coordinator. He was also Moore, the offensive coordinator in Philadelphia last season, where I believe he did some nice work, and he's the youngest head coach in the league. So what I don't know is if he's been overpromoted. Was he just a good offensive line who won't be a good head coach, or will he be fine in the bigger shoes? We're going to see. What's tricky here is that the Saints are tanking for Arch Manning. So will he be set up to fail, or are the Saints going to be patient with him? And we're just going to have to wait and see about that. I don't think this is a bad hire. I think it's a fine hire. But it's a speculative one for a number of reasons. All right. Jacksonville. We have Liam Coen replacing Doug Peterson. Let's talk about Peterson for a second. The more that I think about it, and this is years ago, the more I would have been okay with Peterson being blackballed from the league for tanking a Sunday Night Football game against Washington. This was, again, years ago, and he was hired by Jacksonville and eventually washed out there. But, like, you have an island game and a team actively playing to lose. That is a problem for the league. And the problem is partly due to their incentive structures. But it's also well known that players and coaches play to win, and he didn't. So that was very, very bad. Now, as for Coen, he was a successful offensive coordinator in Tampa Bay. His job at this point is just to help Trevor Lawrence finally reach his potential. My concern there is that Lawrence has taken a fair amount of punishment over his career and just might not be the prospect he was just physically anymore. So we're going to have to see about Jacksonville. In New York, we have another defensive coordinator. We have Aaron Glenn replacing Robert Saleh. One defensive mind, again, replacing another. Glenn just spent a season doing his absolute best with the MASH unit they had in Detroit. They collapsed in the playoffs. Before then, they actually held up pretty well given the losses in personnel. So Glenn seems fine. There were other options that looked worse, so I was happy when the Jets hired Glenn. In Vegas, we have Pete Carroll replacing Antonio Pierce. Carroll's obviously had more NFL success than Pierce, but by the end of his tenure in Seattle, he was washed. So Perhaps a new team will rejuvenate him. My expectations there are pretty low, but they're also low there due to the roster and quarterback situation.
Sure.
Geno Smith, I don't think of as a top quarterback, so we're going to say. In New England, we have Mike Vrabel replacing Jared Mayo. Now, the thing there is Mayo was just simply in over his head. Nice guy. They wanted him to succeed. They absolutely wished him all the best. It just didn't work out. And part of the problem wasn't net entirely with Mayo. It was their drafting over the years has been poor as well. Like Drake May looks legit, but after that, like their drafts have been pretty terrible. So I do expect Vrabel to eventually be a huge improvement over Mayo because Vrabel is a competent NFL head coach. The roster is going to need some work, so Vrabel will need some time. The good news is they do have a quarterback on a franchise quarterback on a rookie contract, so they're not going to get choked out by the cap. Just take some time, rebuild the roster, and eventually get back. So, like the big two are obviously Chicago and New England, but particularly Chicago, because that roster is better than the roster in New England.
Yeah.
Williams was number 1 overall, and Ben Johnson was, I think, the premium hire of this year's class and coaching class. So, yeah, big pressure, Chicago expectations.
Yeah,
but also huge upside. We'll see.
Good on the Bears. It was for me. It was a believe it until I see it sort of thing with them getting Ben Johnson, because I'm just thinking of that the Bears have made some very quirky hires over the years, and and they obviously haven't worked out, especially ever since they let go of Lovie Smith. But yeah, I mean, for my Bears friends, I'm very excited for their chances. Although, we'll get into this later, but the biggest obstacle probably now is the division.
That division is very challenging. So yeah. Yes, I agree with you.
So
all right.
Okay. All right. So the next question we have after this was for you here was, how much does having a new staff matter, particularly in the examples above?
So one of the things about the new staff is they can help in a number of ways. They can win games in the film room by finding new avenues of attack or finding the right counter moves. And Eberflus did not that. And I don't really feel like dumping on Mayo. Just he was not ready to be an NFL head coach. Coaches can also win in other ways. Like sometimes you just teach. You could be a good teacher. You could be a good leader of men. You could be a good delegator. Just hire a great staff and run the team efficiently. There are a number of ways for new staffs to make an impact. One of the key things is the buy-in. So the players in Chicago, New England are going to have greater trust in what their coaches are telling them because they have guys they can believe in. Like Eberflus lost the team. He clearly did.
Sure.
And Mayo, again, was just in over his head. And players can see that. Players react to that. Football is such a physical and demanding game that if you don't have buy-in, it's hard to go all out. And in Chicago and New England again this year, like Vrabel knows how to run an NFL practice. He knows how to run an NFL team. And Johnson will at least be inspirational. New offensive plays, sound offensive play calling. I expect to see a lot of changes in both Chicago and New England.
Yeah, the thing with the Bears is they got to see him a couple times last year.
Yes,
granted, some of that, some of that is the talent on Detroit, but also, I mean, there's a certain percentage that's probably the scheme too, that the play calling that they decide to do. So, there's some optimism there, I'm sure.
I agree 100%. The other thing about a new coaching staff is there's adrenaline. In baseball, you see that there's a noted short-term boost when you change coaches, you fire the old guy, bring in the new guy, and everyone wants to impress the new regime. In football, it's a little different, but there's still some of that effect. But mostly it comes down to, will this coach find a way to help his team win? If they can, great. If they can't, the players are going to pick up on that, and that's when things get ugly.
Okay. I don't know if I need to touch base on this the next coaching question. So I'm just going to skip to the question here about the guys that were like hold-ins or like the
Yeah, go ahead. That's fine.
so because the other one, now that I'm reading it, is just not, it doesn't need to be discussed, I don't think. But so let's just go into that. So there was a handful of, and let me just emphasize, like I'm sure that it's been mentioned before, like in media or whatever, but I hadn't heard the term hold in as much as I have this year. And I don't know if that's like a new age thing, or maybe I'm just not paying attention enough to previous years. But there was quite a bit. So there's James Cook, Trey Hendrickson. I noted a bunch there. I don't know if this is all of them. James Cook, Trey Hendrickson, Terry McLaurin. They all signed. Cameron Heyward and Micah Parsons remain in Holden State. Although I wrote that, let me emphasize, I wrote this on Thursday, right before the big news. So thoughts on these particular deals or lack thereof, and then how did Dallas let it get to be this bad with Parsons? And then I had to put this in parentheses: update on Parsons. Oh boy. So
Yeah, we'll get to Parsons. All right. Like we've seen NFL hold-ins before, and the reason they exist is because you can get fined if you're not in camp. So
sure.
players will go to camp, but like they're still going to hold in until they get their money. Like they're not going to give all out. They might even say, "Hey, my back hurts." So what are you going to do?
Yeah.
So let's start with Cook. Running back deals are tricky because so much of their value is dependent on their situation. I think both the Bills and Cook did a good job of finding middle ground there. And as the second contract went, it was reasonable. If you're going to pay a running back, that's what it's going to cost. My sense is, though, in a few years, teams are going to realize that running backs weren't necessarily worth all of that, and they're going to recalibrate. But we're going to have to wait and see with the data from the next couple of seasons and how much new running backs independently improve their situations with the teams.
Sure.
Um,
Yeah, because like right now, like I mean, there's no way to like run a simulation of like how good they would have been, like if say like Ray Davis was their running back for the year, and they just like Cook just like sit at home for the year. It's like I don't know how you do that. I mean, I'm sure they still would have been a good team, but like how much of a drop off, if any, would there have been, like if Ray Davis was the running back?
I guess the thing you have to think about in Buffalo is like they're so short on elite offensive weapons.
Yeah.
Like you look at their wide receiver core and you ask yourself, how the hell did Josh Allen do that last year with this team? And like even their star, I'm putting that in parentheses, tight end, did not play like stars.
Yeah.
So like Cook was really important to them.
Yeah.
And I guess he'll be so again this year. So yeah, we'll have to see.
Okay.
Now for Trey Hendrickson, like the Bengals are cheap. That's just a fact. There's too much data on that to ignore. It
Yeah.
is known.
Death, taxes, and
But
the Bengals being cheap.
yeah. They were able to find a peaceful solution eventually. The key thing here is, yes, Hendrickson got more money for this year, but the Bengals were able to retain their tag rates on him going forward. So this was like a Band-Aid on the situation. It is not the long-term solution that anyone was looking for, and so this might not be his last fight with him. McLaurin also reached a peaceful solution in Washington. His issue there was age, and he's not old, but he's going to be on the wrong side of 30. The situation there is they need him as well, though, because like Jayden Daniels, number one wide receiver, they want Jayden Daniels to succeed. They needed McLaurin. So that helped them reach the deal. Cam Heyward has not yet reached the deal, and his situation is he's a victim of ageism. He turned 36 in May. Now, he was quite good last season, but like Pittsburgh is not a situation where they want to kick him a lot more guaranteed cash. He signed through 2026. Like he's not in the last year of his contract. He also just received a $13.5 or so million roster bonus. So, like, I understand both sides. If I were Pittsburgh, I might be a little miffed. But he can play, and he's 36, and this might be his last chance to get a bag. So I get it.
Sure.
No, this one's bigger than the others. This is Parsons.
Oh God.
But I don't know if Parsons is the big story as much as Jerry Jones is the big story. So the thing about getting older is that you have a sense of how much things cost. The problem is that sense is wrong. You are anchored to what prices used to be and not what they are. And Jerry knew how much he wanted to pay Micah Parsons, and he felt, from his mind, that he was giving Parsons a premium contract. He felt he was offering him what he was worth. But like that offer is not actually commensurate with the NFL market. And whether or not Jerry knew that, that's what the offer was. And here's the situation. Elite edge rushers don't actually go on the market. They don't be like Micah Parsons does not become an unrestricted free agent with no tag rights, whatever else, signed with any team that wants him for how much they're willing to pay him. That's not a thing. And so every market has to be judged in that context. And the reason they don't come to the market is, in general, they get re-signed by their teams. That's just what happens. You have an elite guy who can get to the quarterback, you pay him, you keep him. The worst case scenario is you tag them. And so, like, Parsons, he was able to net 2 first-round picks. But these are 2 first-round picks for one of the top teams in the NFC. These are not going to be early in the round picks, most likely.
Sure.
And they got an aging defensive tackle, a guy who was very good 2 years ago, Kenny Clark. So I'm sure, like, Jerry felt like he did the best in a tough situation, but he didn't have to be in a tough situation. He should not have been in a tough situation. And he's put himself there with quarterbacks and wide receivers. And at some point, and someone should take the keys away from him. He's too old to drive, but it's hard to do. He's the owner, and he's got the power. So
let's just say, like, I feel kind of bad for Clark too. This is something my buddy, who's a Dallas Cowboys fan, said, because like he's going to be catching a lot of strays from this, even though like he has nothing to do with everything that played out. Because like there was no way that Dallas was going to get like a fair, like, and some people might say like two firsts and a Pro Bowl player, former Pro Bowl player, was maybe, but then I mean, to me, like I feel like to me Green Bay won that deal, no question. But yeah, I feel bad for him because like because he's gonna feel a lot of the flack from that. But like I do think that Jones deserves most of the blame, because I do think that Dallas has had a problem with the market too, because like I don't know, like I don't remember the timing of the Garrett deal. I think Garrett's deal was last year, but they could have, like, sometimes you need to get ahead of the market and like offer them the best deal like a year before. Like, I mean, it's easy for me to say, but I feel like they could have saved themselves some money if they would have made Parsons the highest paid player, only for Garrett to then like usurp him. Like, I don't know how that would have worked out for Jones, but he's done this with CeeDee Lamb and Dak too. So like he should have re-signed them like a year before or like months before, and he could have saved some money. But like, I don't know.
So I agree with everything you just said, and I want to break it down at least a little bit. Let's start with the last thing first. Yes, Dallas could have saved themselves money a number of times by getting ahead of the market and signing a long-term deal for a much cheaper price, and save themselves significant money in the salary cap. I'm not a capologist, but I'm sure other people have analyzed this. I'm sure other teams have analyzed this and have said to themselves, don't be that guy. Don't be Dallas.
Yeah.
And in terms of Kenny Clark, I feel a little bit bad for him in terms of the catching the strays. Obviously, yes, he was traded and he had no say in that whatsoever. But let's actually look at this from Micah Parsons' perspective. He did have some say in this. And the way he had some say in this is for any team to offer Dallas a high-end deal, they need to know that they're going to have Parsons under contract for the foreseeable future. And so once Green Bay had offered him the 48 and the X millions of dollars in terms of guaranteed money, which is what it really comes down to, he's not going to agree to a deal with any other team unless they offer him a better deal. And so Dallas won't be able to get a better deal from any other team until A, they pay Parsons, and then B, they have to pay Dallas on top of that. And that's why Jerry Jones was in such a tough spot. And again, he painted himself into that corner, no one to blame but himself. And it happens once. Okay, I understand. It happens twice and three times. That's enemy action. And Jerry Jones is his own worst enemy.
Yep. And yeah, like, I guess we could get into this when you start discussing the NFC East, but I'm kind of wondering, like, I didn't look like I did review your outline before, like I did review your season preview like before this, but like I didn't have enough time to like.
It's 160 plus pages. You're forgiven.
Fully read everything, but like I am curious to see like how much like the division benefits from Jerry Jones's presence as Dallas owner, like just based on this move alone, at least for this year. But in general, I guess they probably benefit as long as Jerry's the owner. Like they're probably going to benefit for quite a while.
So in terms of just inside baseball direct thoughts, like, yeah, it hurt Dallas the most. It helped the Giants the most because now there's a team in their division who they can legitimately match up against.
Yeah.
And obviously it helped Green Bay a ton because they got Micah Parsons, which in turn hurts Detroit. Like Detroit got jumped as the second overall favorite to win the NFC. Now Green Bay is. So yeah, this trade sent shockwaves throughout the NFL.
Yep. Okay. All right. So let's go into the next part here. So was there, like, as far as the offseason goes, was there a particular team's position group or particular side of the ball, offense or defense, that like who might have improved the most, or that maybe you're the most fascinated to see play out based on the personnel changes that have happened either from coaching or player perspective?
So say what you will about the Giants' overall roster, like their front seven's legit. I'm going to be interested in, I hope to enjoy watching their pass rush in action. That defense should be able to offer them some protection against getting blown out at least.
Okay.
Obviously now we have Green Bay's games are going to be tremendous to watch. See how they use Micah Parsons and see, again, there's cascade effects when you get a star because the offense is going to have one plus an additional perhaps blocker on Parsons. That creates opportunities for the interior of the line. It creates opportunities for the other edge rushers. And all of that helps the secondary as well. So there's just defensive improvements across the board for Green Bay. Like last year, when Parsons was on the field for Dallas's defense, they were one of the top 5 defenses in the NFL. And when he wasn't on the field for them, they were one of the bottom 5 defenses in the NFL. Stars can matter, even on defense. And another thing with Green Bay is their wide receivers are just objectively hilarious because a lot of them are pretty fast and can be explosive, but man, those hands.
They have a type, is what you're saying.
They do. I mean, they have multiple types.
Yeah, like if you want to go, I don't know if you want to wait for the Green Bay part of the
just briefly. There's two things they do differently than other NFL teams. They clearly value creating separation in college a lot and value hands less than other NFL teams do. Like this combination of the two things. And they also value size among their defensive ends. Like before the Micah Parsons trade, I had written in my NFL preview that they do not have a traditional edge rusher on the roster. Well, now they do. So
yeah, update they do.
All right. So let's see.
Okay, so the next part here. So on the opposite side of the coin, so the Saints seem to be the clear team that's it was like there's the Cardinals. I think the Cardinals a couple years ago. It was like when Murray was going to be out for a significant period of time. Like they were significant underdogs, but are significant favorites to be the worst team, and I think they ended up winning a few games because of
They ended up with the number
Josh
4 pick in the draft that
Josh
year.
Dobbs
They
or
were
something
tanking for
like that.
Tua.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were tanking for
Yeah.
Tua.
Yeah.
And they ended up with the wide receiver Harrison Jr.
Yeah, and which remains to be seen if that's good, but yeah, we'll get into that. But yeah, so the Saints are that team this year. So are they they're in full operation tank mode at this point for the next year or two, I'm guessing.
Yeah, they're going to be prepared to tank as long as it takes. When you were growing up, were there any like video arcades near you? Any place where you could go to play video games like for a quarter at a time?
Yeah, it would probably be the bowling alley. Like
Yeah,
my mom was in a bowling league, and like like I could distinctly remember like the smoke just being immersed in the entire bowling alley when smoking was legal in inside places and all that unhealth. Like it's a weird thing to reflect on with like admiration, but it was like there's certain parts of it that are like it's kind of fun to reflect on it, but then like, oh wait, I was in a smoke-filled room as a kid. Like I don't know, it's probably not the best place to be, but yes, I do remember that. I remember like the claw machines, the Mortal Kombat. I don't know. There's a whole bunch of arcade games that were popular at that time, but I think Mortal Kombat was probably the big one.
So the reason I bring all this up is right near my elementary school, when I was in 5th grade, we were allowed to go off campus, whatever you'd call it, off the school grounds for lunch.
Sure.
And nearby, there's this little place called Toy and Party, and they had the game pole position. And I would generally do one race before going back to class. The Saints are in pole position, as it were, to get the number 1 overall pick. They are the favorite, but there's going to be some tough competitors. There's always going to be some team that rises up and loses more games than they should in the early part of the season, and then maybe they pack it in, and then they're going to be galloping with the Saints for their season or racing with the Saints for their season. So, yes, the Saints want it more than anyone else, but as with Arizona, that's no guarantee. The players are going to try to win games, and they have a very soft schedule. So
yeah, they're in the worst division of the league, which we'll go over shortly. But so to emphasize, my first racing game that I remember was RC Pro-Am for Nintendo. Just to let you know, that's the first one that I remember. But okay, so let's go. So the next part here, I always have to have a Jets Giants just because that's your area there. So I do know that like when we were discussing Rodgers coming into the fold years ago, you didn't want him, so thankfully it was
want him then.
It was
don't want him now.
It's a short-term experiment. Thankfully it didn't thankfully he's gone for your sake, but like the funny thing is, like I remember Fields being like a legitimate discussion point of like, hey, could Fields be drafted number 2? That when Zach Wilson was, drafted.
It's true. Like I don't think he was expected to go 2, but like he could have gone like top 5, and he fell outside.
It's funny how this plays out. He ends up with you anyways after we find out that he's really not that great, but yeah, so you happy to be trading Rodgers for Fields, and then bullish on Jackson Dart? ?
So I'm obviously very happy with the trade. It's not that Fields is good; it's that he's fun and likable, and that Rodgers was neither. I didn't want Rodgers here at all, and I'm glad he's gone. In terms of Dart, yeah, I'm bullish on him. Certainly more so than I was pre-draft. Pre-draft, I was a little skeptical of him, and I'm still skeptical of him because in college he beat up on bad teams and struggled against good ones. And relative to the defense he's facing in college, every defense is going to be good. But so far, so good. The Giants are happy with the pick. And I'm going to be excited when he finally gets a chance to play. So, yes, I'm bullish on that. Happy about that.
Okay. All right. So another topic that we like to go over besides rookie quarterbacks. Well, I think we like to talk about quarterbacks in general because those are the difference makers. But in terms of the young quarterbacks, second/third year guys, are there any ones that stand out in terms of candidates who are projecting for big improvements or perhaps regressions in some cases? I don't know.
The big one is CJ Stroud. He's the huge question mark. Year one, he was able to overcome Bobby Slowick. Year two, he couldn't. And now he's got a real coaching staff around him, so we're going to see if he can recapture that magic. Another one, and it's not really fair to call him second or third year, but I'm going to list him here anyway, is there's a sneaky large amount of pressure on Jordan Love right now. Like, he's not technically a second or third year quarterback, but to me, he kind of is. And Green Bay is built to win right now. Every drop, and trust me, I've seen that wide receiver core. There's going to be drops in Green Bay. Is going to just add to his amount of pressure. So that's something we're looking for.
Yeah, and this is not and this is not a team that makes like splashy moves that often. Like,
you're right.
Like they're like as far as like a group goes, they're like a very conservative group in terms they emphasize the draft quite a bit in terms of building their roster. Like, I think that was what caught people off guard with because Reggie White was the free agent signing, right? Like, he wasn't traded.
Big
there.
one. He had a free agency tour. That was the first one I can remember.
Yeah.
When he was leaving the Eagles.
But typically the Packers aren't like they're just the way they're ran. They're ran usually through the draft. That's how they have operated.
So like this draft.
So that like this is like this has to like get the hairs on his back like standing a little bit, being like, oh shit, this is like, oh, I better do my shit now, or like,
Green Bay is unique for a number of reasons, not having a traditional ownership structure. They're grandfathered into the way they were years ago.
Yeah.
And like they have made major signings before, but they're not common. We remember them, like the same way we remember Reggie White. Like, this was a huge trade. But look, they saw an opportunity and they took it. And this great news for them. It turned them from being a dark horse into the number 2 competitor in the NFC. That's something. That's a big move.
Indeed.
And I agree again. Like, a lot of pressure on Jordan Love. Step up, my man. Stepping up pressure.
Best of luck, Jordan. All right. So go ahead, Caleb.
Caleb Williams is in prove-it mode. Like, we're going to give him a mulligan for the Eberflus here. But now he's got Ben Johnson. They have a real wide receiver corps. Like, it's time to show out. It's time to show why you're the number 1 overall pick in the draft. 1 bad year is forgivable. A lot of quarterbacks have had that. 2 is much tougher to take. Then we have Jayden Daniels. He's on the other end of the spectrum. He set an absurdly high bar for himself. And so it would be understandable if he did not take a second-year leap. The concern here is, can he avoid a Stroud-like year 2 collapse? Because he's coming from such a high bar. If he's like mediocre this year, there's gonna be a lot of stress in Washington.
Yeah, and so tying those 2 guys together that you just talked about, I wonder how much stress there is on, like, how much, like, I mean, Caleb was number 1, so like he's gonna have a big bullseye no matter what, like on critiques and all that. But the fact that Daniels was right there the next.
Can you hear me? Are we still connected? Ryan, I think I might have lost you. I'm going to go to the Google chat. Hold on 1 second.
Okay, let me see if I could pause this.
All right, I hear you now. Can you hear me now?
Okay, so I did see a buffering, I think.
Okay. So, you're frozen again. Little concerned about the connection at this point.
Jayden Daniels. Yeah, what? Yeah, this it's like not the best here.
Google
let me wait a second here.
Crapping out on us.
Let me wait a second here. Um, okay, so Jayden Daniels. So yeah,
Yeah,
the fact that Jayden Daniels did so well, does that like add more pressure to Caleb Williams, even though like it shouldn't, but does it?
I think it does. Like the number one guy in the draft, when the number two guy's quarterback as well, they're gonna historically be tied together. We've seen that in a number of cases historically. And it doesn't necessarily make them rivals, doesn't mean they dislike each other at all. But they're aware of each other and they're aware of what each other has accomplished, or in this case, not accomplished. So, like Caleb Williams, he's got a lot of work to do. Jayden Daniels has set a bar for both of them on some degree, as a matter of fact. So, yes, it matters.
Okay. All right. So Michael Penix. All right. Go ahead.
Yep. Michael Penix Jr. has had a full offseason of being the number one guy. He needs to show he had like a Jameis Winston stat line from last year, which is to say that he averaged over 7 yards an attempt and had the same number of touchdowns as interceptions, 7 each. And like he's got to show that was a fluke. That's not who he is. He's actually a much more reliable, much more consistent quarterback than that. So that's what we're gonna be looking for from Penix. And it's hilarious to me, by the way, that Kirk Cousins is still there waiting in the wings. Like, I'm right here.
It's the money maker, the man who always gets that contract is right there.
As they say, a business of the NFL All-Star.
Yes.
Bryce Young, he needs to take a second leap. Like he took a leap last year, but it was from such a low base that he wasn't actually good. He needs to pull like a Josh Allen and have an amazing third year relative to what he's done previously as well. And I am highly skeptical of this because he's still very short.
Sure.
Yeah,
I don't think. Yes, I don't think he grew in the offseason. So
did not grow in the offseason, but they did add an elite wide receiver in the draft.
That should help.
That'll help.
That should help.
Yeah. Then we have JJ McCarthy. Now he's in a really weird and odd spot. He was supposed to be the starter last season. He got hurt in the preseason. And then the team proceeded to go 14-2 before collapsing. And God forbid JJ McCarthy is awful. God forbid he's the next Josh Rosen. Like, pray for Thor Nystrom, Thorku on Twitter. Because he is Morpheus to Neo. That's how much he believes. Then we have Bo Nix. He exceeded my expectations last season. My concern for Bo Nix is that he's already reached like 95% of his ceiling, that he just doesn't have the arm to make the throws to beat defenses. Like a third and long, we know where you're going, you know where you're going, and if you do it, we're going to intercept the ball. Otherwise, you're going to have to check it down. Like my concern is like he just does not have much more of a ceiling to show us. So we're going to have to wait and see on that one. Drake Maye. Like he's going to be expected to show some improvement simply due to experience and having a new competent coaching staff. I'm going to give him a little bit of time. My long-term expectations are high expectations, but like give Maye and give Vrabel a little time to rebuild that roster in the way they wanted to build it. But I do like Maye. I do think eventually he's going to be quite good.
Okay. And one of the questions that I like to ask, I feel like I've asked this many years in a row here, is if you have any new projects that you're doing for the NFL in terms of just your analysis or just positional things, like anything from a particular position or skill analysis in the works, anything you're doing with that?
So unfortunately, this is going to be a purely internal project where I won't be sharing any of the information. It's something to be for betting purposes.
Okay.
But I'd like to do a better job of measuring gravity. So we see gravity in a couple different ways. We see it offensively with dual threat quarterbacks, and we see it defensively with elite edge rushers. Like, watch Myles Garrett and watch how much like opposing teams like have a plan B if he beats his man. Like there's additional blocking waiting Garrett, like beyond the initial blocker. But all of that again is just from my own internals. I want to have a better understanding of certain guys' impact space on the rest of the field.
Okay.
But in terms of public information, like there's a lot of people doing really great work from a number of different sources, a number of different contexts, a number of different things they're analyzing. Speed, catch skills relative to how the ball was thrown, Like one of the things I saw people discussing on Twitter is that man-to-man is higher variance than zone. And that was something that was not like people would talk about 5 or 10 years ago. That was
Sure.
not something fans would even be aware of. And so I feel like the future is really bright with the next generation of analysts that we're seeing in the NFL. Like, find the young kids on Twitter that are doing good stuff and follow them. So that's what I would say.
Yeah, and I guess with if that holds up to be true, like I wonder if like like a team that is not a very strong team, but if with like we're talking about variance, like maybe there's some chances for those teams that might not be as strong to exploit those variances. I don't know. All right, so let's go. So let's go into the next part here. So the next part here was rule changes, and I don't think there was anything super significant. Although I think the kickoff thing was probably the biggest thing in terms of like rule changes for this year.
So people who are listening to this, just Google shotgun blast to abdomen. Just pisses Wilford Brimley off more. Like, that's how I feel about the new kickoff rules. I was already pissed that the ball was coming out to like the 30, and now, sorry, I was pissed it was coming out to 25. Now it's coming out to 30, I think. Like,
It might even be. I think it was a 35. I thought.
So yeah. It's all so freaking ridiculous.
Yeah. And just to let you know, I not to give a cheap plug to what I'm going to be doing like in like 5 days, but the very first half marathon that I did, I have a T-shirt of Wilford Brimley on it. It just has Sugar Daddy on it.
That is a complete coincidence. I love that. That's amazing.
So yeah. Anyways, so it's just a little plug there. So anyways, but yeah.
So one
it's
go ahead.
So yeah, I mean they're emphasizing the kickoff thing so much to like is this really like, do people really want kickoff returns this bad, like that they have to do this? Like, I don't get it.
Clearly the answer is yes. I think it's bad. I think it's bad for the game. And one thing that they've been discussing is like teams should develop better squib kick skills, and maybe that's true. I don't really think that's what anyone wanted the NFL to become, a squib kick fest. So we're gonna have to wait and see how this plays out. Being punished for kicking the ball in the end zone just seems awful to me. I would much prefer that like teams just start kicking off from further back in the field. But I guess their concern, well, you can still have the guys line up only 10 yards away from each other. So I don't know what the concern is instead of doing that. I think they just want more kickoffs, and I think that's bad. There are other rules changes. I'm a big fan of the new overtime rules. So they're basically using the same playoff OT system that we've seen, but now it's in the regular season with the regular season clock. I feel like the one concern there is they might want to give us a bit more time, move it to a full quarter.
Yeah.
And the other thing is replay assist. We're going to have to see how that plays out. And like the chain gangs, we're still going to have chain gangs. We've not gone fully automated, all that. So just, yeah, I don't like the new kickoff rules, but the other stuff seems fine.
Okay. All right. So I guess this is when we start the preview of the, like, we start some of the preview. I guess we've already started the preview, but one of the questions before we start the preview team by team is teams with the widest range of outcomes this year. I think like you actually had the Jets, I think, on this last year, I think you had the Jets on this. I don't remember.
It certainly was possible given Aaron Rodgers. I don't know for certain, but so this year there's 3 teams that come to mind in terms of wide range of outcomes. We have the Vikings, the Bears, and the Patriots. For the Vikings, like they went 14-2 last year before losing to the Lions and then losing to the Rams in the playoffs. That's still a strong roster and a great coaching staff if McCarthy is legit. So they're not expected to be anywhere near as good as they were last year, or at least to have a record anywhere near as they had last year. But if like McCarthy is a champion, the Vikings could be yet another threat in a ridiculously tough division. Then there's the Bears. Like if Johnson and Caleb Williams show out, then they too could be somewhat very interesting, scary, and dangerous. And then we have the Patriots. We talked about the Bears and Patriots together a lot. New coaching staff, young quarterbacks, new hope. So like all three of them are going to be very interesting. Like things could fail, things could work out great. We're going to have to wait and see. Two other teams in terms of wide range of outcomes. Like the 49ers and the Bills are not, in my mind, the best teams in their conferences, but they have much easier schedules than their main rivals and competitors. Like one thing with the Bills is apart from having a soft schedule, they also get both teams they're really competing against for the number one seed, the Ravens and the Chiefs. Both games are at home. The Ravens week 1, the Chiefs, I want to say in November. And the Chiefs also get the Ravens at home. In that case, though, that's going to be earlier in the season before the suspension for wide receiver Rashee Rice has finished. So that's something interesting.
Sure.
I despise the head-to-head, by the way, tiebreaker system, since it makes losing a tough road game to a rival just so brutally punishing. Like that screwed the Packers against the Cowboys year after year during the Troy Aikman and Brett Favre days.
Mm-hmm.
And I hated it then. Even though I didn't really have a dog in that fight, I did eventually, but like I did I think it's a bad tiebreaker system. I think strength of schedule and other things should be better. Or just it's what I would use. So
okay.
Yes, we've reached the gambling portion of our program.
So yes, we are. So last year you had, at least in the review that I reviewed the outline from last year just to see what you had written, just to remind myself. And you were on the wagon of fuck the Jets under, and that worked out well. And the Eagles futures, and it's just based on that you had a successful year, at least just based on the preview podcast. I'm sure there's things in between that, maybe ups and downs, but just based on the preview podcast last year, seemed like you had, like it worked out. And like this isn't, and granted, this isn't like the typical. This isn't what Bebo Knows podcast used to be, where it's like gambling focused, but like, and I'm not going to be like, oh yeah, he did well last year, so like, you got to, no, that obviously we know that that's not how we do these things here, but it is fun to reflect sometimes and see like what you had, discussed, and the fact that, you had said, you bet against the faded Jets, we're on the Eagles, worked out well. So like on that same vein, since you're Mr. Money, since you're going to make everybody a lot of money, that's how these things go, obviously, because if you did well one year, you're obviously going to do well the next year. That's how things work in gambling. That's how I heard. So yeah, what are some betting stances that you have for this year?
So I need to take a moment to reflect on how much money I've lost on the Ravens over the last few years in the playoffs. It's real money. I mean, yeah, sometimes you win some, but you lose some too.
So does that go back to the right before the year that the Ravens lost to the Titans in the divisional? Like I'm guessing you probably had significant stake on.
I was loaded for bear on the Ravens that year. I had futures on them.
Yeah. So is that like the point of reference? Is that like about when it started?
Sure, that could be when it started, but like then there was the year they lost at home in the AFC Championship game to the Chiefs. Oh, that hurt. Yeah. And there was the loss last year to Buffalo. Now, last year I understood that they would have to win a road game in Buffalo and then probably a road game in Kansas City as well. Like I knew that was going to be a challenging class, but I still viewed them as a monster. I still like my odds on them.
Sure.
Still like the prices. But did not work out. So on the other hand, I do have to concede, yes, last year was a great year overall. Like that Eagles team was very, very good to me. And I dodged a bullet when Washington upset Detroit because in the NFC Championship game in Detroit, that would have been a fair fight in my mind between the Eagles and Lions. And when the Eagles got Washington home, I was very, very happy for that. And yes, LOL Jets, that's evergreen sentiment. So for this year, and it's kind of fun to have exactly one team that you're long on huge in each conference. I am huge on the Eagles. I am huge on the Ravens. I'm actually even bigger on the Ravens, but I'm enormous on both.
Okay.
And
so
just think, I want to actually think about the trade, the Parsons trade, in light of being long on the Eagles. On one hand, their two division games got easier against Dallas. On the other hand, they went from having like the Lions as their main rival to the Packers as the main rival, with the Lions also being an additional threat. It's interesting whether or not, is that a wash? Is that good for the Eagles? Is that bad for the Eagles? Like, I think it's fine for them overall, but it's not obviously good, which is funny given that they just lost a rival from their own division.
Sure.
Now, in terms of other teams, I'm shorting the Colts because I've seen too much football from Danny Dimes and Richardson. I'm shorting the Raiders because I do not believe in the Seattle in the desert plan with Pete Carroll and Geno Smith and the rest. I don't love the idea of it. So I was shorting the Cowboys before the trade, and I shorted the Cowboys after the trade, like a double tap. And simply because before the trade, I didn't love their roster depth. I felt like they're building on stars and scrubs, and too many scrubs and not enough stars, and the stars were also getting older. And then they traded Parsons. Like, wow, I wonder how much the market reacts. And the market reacted, obviously, but I did not feel the market reacted enough. And so that was a double tap situation. I shorted the Saints as well because when they drafted Tyler Shuck, I was expecting Shuck to be the starter at that point because I figured they'd draft him to start ahead of Ritter.
Sure.
And he's actually not the starter, although who knows what the plan is. But, like, I'm fine with it being either Ritter or Shuck as a starter because, again,
you're talking, and when you say Ritter, you mean Radler, right? The Spencer Radler.
God damn it.
Yeah. When you were, when I was
Rattler.
reading this, I just had to double check to make sure, like, that I didn't miss some news that Desmond Ritter got picked up. But yeah, I figured you meant Radler.
Spencer Rattler, my bad.
Yeah,
I'm awaiting the tweet from Hagrid making fun of me.
Sure, that's fine. That's fine. We could, if you put that in your previews, then you have time to correct it, hopefully. But
no, I'd like to think I got that right in my NFL preview.
I thought you did, but
very shortly.
I thought you did, but like I saw I saw Ritter come up a few times, and I was just like, wait, that doesn't look right. So yeah, sorry, I don't mean to call you out like on live.
No, actually, thank you very, very, very much for calling me out.
Because I get
come up my NFL preview, thankfully.
Because I mean, with how many names you're going through on a daily basis with NFL analysis, like I could see how like the double letters with the R, like it's not like I could see how that could happen. So I'm
just so bad with names in general. So yeah, okay. This is I'm numbers I can remember, names I struggle with. So yeah, thank you. Actually, honestly,
that's
fine. Thank you.
So no problem. So all right. So and then Carolina was the last one here, I think.
Yeah, I shorted Carolina simply because I don't believe in Bryce Young. Like I've liked a lot of things they've done this offseason, but at the end of the day, if you don't believe in the quarterback and the market does, I'm gonna be on the other side.
Sure.
So yeah, long on the Eagles and Ravens, short on those teams.
Okay. All right. So let's go to the division. So you start with the AFC East here.
Yeah. I expect Buffalo to roll easily. Like, they don't really have anyone else. Like, there was a time when Miami was challenging them for the division rival, and it actually came down to the final week one season, I think. But at this point, Buffalo should just roll easily. They're going to be mostly concerned about their playoff seeding. It's number one or bust, baby, basically.
Okay, and so before we go into all these teams, I will say that for like a more in-depth thing, I will promote your outline so that people can read it, because like, yeah, we're not gonna have you read your entire preview, because like, you know,
these are snippets.
my computer battery only has so much life, and yeah. So anyway, so all right. So I just wanted to emphasize that. Okay. So the rest. Sorry. So next one.
160 plus pages. This is all free. SethBurn.wordpress.com, baby.
Yes. Yes.
All there.
I'll make, and I've retweeted it, but we'll make sure to promote that again. So all right. So starting next one was New England.
Yeah. They're in a transitional phase. Vrabel's going to need some time to remake the team, and he's going to need to do it while he's developing Drake Maye. They have some time. It's not an immediate rebuild because there's a lot of things in the roster, but they have the most important piece. They have the quarterback. They have a real head coach. So I expect good things from them in the long run. Miami, Miami's now a little bit depressing just to look at. They might eventually need to do a full rebuild. It's clear to me that they have missed their window. For the Jets, like New Orleans is in pole position, but don't sleep on the Jets in terms of getting that number one pick. Justin Fields might have that gear. Like the Jets could truly suck. So here's hoping. I kid. Every week when I watch the games, I root for them to win.
But yeah, but at the same time, I guess at least like this year, you am I buffering again?
No, I see you just fine.
Okay, sorry. All right, so the Fields thing, yeah, there's the Fields at least will be better than Rodgers.
More fun than Rodgers, certainly. I'm happy to have him.
Yeah.
All right, to the AFC North. Baltimore has to respect Cincinnati, but after that, things look pretty good for them. Like Pittsburgh is going on the Aaron Rodgers train. Like, yes, Pittsburgh still has a defense, but come on. So like Buffalo, they're most concerned about their playoff seeding. Unlike Buffalo, they get their two main rivals on the road. I'm expecting them to overcome that because their roster is just stacked. This is a very, very well-built team. So that's Baltimore. For Cincinnati, yes, everyone got paid, but the Bengals have still hamstringed themselves by being cheap, where the Ravens are stacked. The Bengals roster is kind of thin, and that's going to matter over the course of a full season. So Pittsburgh, like Rodgers, really, that's what Pittsburgh's plan A was. At some point, Tomlin's pursuit of winning games will frustrate the fan base's desire to win championships. Tomlin does not like having losing. He doesn't have losing seasons. That's just not what he does. But like, I don't see what the future is for them.
I will say like I know you have a point in the podcast where you talk about this, but or at least in your preview you did, where the Niners have that streak of like either making the NFC title game or missing the playoffs, like 20-something straight years.
It's like 23 years, and all 7 times they made the playoffs, they've made it to the NFC championship game.
which is bananas, by the way. But yeah, like you ask me, would I trade that for Pittsburgh? I think I would take the Niners. I think I would take 16 missed playoff appearances for the thrill of 7 times being at least within a game of the Super Bowl, and many of those times being in the Super Bowl. Like, even though they didn't win them, as a fan, I would rather take that. So.
Let me tell you right now, if the Jets make a Super Bowl in my lifetime, those tickets are going to be hella expensive.
Oh, God.
Because there's so many of us that are just waiting. Waiting.
Oh, boy. Yeah, they'll be a little more expensive than those World Series tickets that I posted on Twitter yesterday.
That's really cool. I do love the old memorabilia. I actually, for a while, I kept a lot because I went to the NCAA tournament every year, and I bought the full slab and I kept them. They always had like different colors, and those were really cool.
Yeah.
And digital tickets just suck in terms of memorabilia. So like,
they do.
Nah.
Yeah, they do.
So, all right, back to football.
Right. Cleveland.
Watson crushed them. Crushed them for years and years to come. It'll take them years to financially recover from this. And Sanders and Gabriel is going to be fun, but like Flacco is still the starting quarterback. So, like, yeah, rough times for Cleveland for the foreseeable future.
So the Watson thing, like touching base on that, do you think that like even though it's not entirely Cleveland's fault, but do you think that the way that played out just reiterates the fact on why NFL doesn't do guaranteed contracts
So,
often.
for those of you who are listening to this and don't know exactly how this played out, the situation was in Houston that Watson was being investigated for sexual harassment at massage spas, and he was suspended. And Houston decided to move on. And previously, he'd been one of the top quarterbacks in the NFL, despite a pretty poor roster. He himself had looked awesome. And he was young, and so he was available for trade. And there was a tremendous bidding war. And like with Micah Parsons, the team that was going to be able to offer the best package would be the team that would sign him to a new deal that would lock him up for the future. And he didn't really want to go to Cleveland, so he was looking at some other options. They're putting packages together. And eventually, Cleveland came over the top in terms of what their offer to him was, with a huge amount of money, all of it guaranteed. And that basically swayed him towards Cleveland. And then Cleveland and Houston were able to agree on the huge picks package, 3 number 1 picks and all the other stuff. And so he had unique leverage that I don't recall a quarterback having. And so if we were to have let's just say Josh Allen were to become an unrestricted free agent, like no tag, no nothing, the numbers he would get would be astronomical. But like until you see another quarterback with the kind of leverage Watson had, we won't be able to test the guaranteed money, how much the quarterback will be able to get.
Sure.
It's all about leverage, basically. That's what a negotiation is.
Fair.
So, yeah, I don't think the NFL wants to go down that road ever again.
Okay. All right. AFC South.
Yep. Houston needs Stroud to rebound. Now, the good news is Bobby Sloak is gone. God, I hate Bobby Sloak so much. He's actually in Miami now as the quarterbacks coordinator, quarterbacks coach, whatever it is. So good luck with that, Miami. But Stroud needs to find that rookie magic, and Houston needs to defend their crown. And the good news for them is they play in the AFC South. So, Jacksonville. Is Trevor Lawrence washed? I'm concerned he's just taken too much physical punishment over the years, and he's not the guy that he was when he came into the league, that his ceiling has been diminished. For Indianapolis, Richardson might eventually just need a new home to develop, might need to get out of Indianapolis. Like when Daniel Jones can steal your job, it's a problem. And Indianapolis looks to have swung and missed with Richardson. Tennessee, don't sleep on how bad Cam Ward's footwork was last year. It worked for him out in college. It will not work for him in the NFL. That's the one thing I'm going to be watching for when I watch Tennessee. Have they fixed his mechanics in that regard, the lower body mechanics?
Okay.
For the AFC West, Kansas City wasn't actually a great team last season, but they beat their main rivals at home when they had to, and they won all the games they should win. So they had a great record. They won the AFC. They were able to defend their house, and then they got waxed in the Super Bowl. Good news is they're going to have an improved wide receiver core this year, I believe. They're going to need the offensive line to hold up. They won't have Rashee Rice for the Ravens game, and they have to play Buffalo and Buffalo. So I do think they're still the end boss. Like they're still the 3-time defending AFC champion. But they aren't necessarily the top favorite.
And I do wonder like if that Rice injury helps the Rice suspension helps like in terms of like not saying like that it helps them, but like the fact that he was going to be suspended, but maybe it helps because like he's coming off of those injuries and maybe that extra 6 weeks helps.
It's certainly possible. I have no idea.
I'm not sure.
Mahomes is used to dealing with diminished wide receiver corps.
Sure.
So like it's going to feel great when they get him back. That's what I'll say.
Yeah.
The Broncos have built a championship level defense. That defense is legit. If Bo Nix can take a second-year leap, the Broncos are going to be a problem. If
it's a big if, yep. That's one of the one of the bigger ones in the AFC, I would guess, is Bo Nix is probably like the
is he capable of more than what he's shown us?
Yeah.
For the Los Angeles Chargers, Harbaugh has gone all in on developing the running game. They passed on grabbing elite weapons for Herbert. I am not sure that is the best plan. And also, they've lost left tackle Rashawn Slater. That is going to hurt. So,
sure.
kind of grim in that regard. The Las Vegas Raiders. I do not like the Seahawks reboot in the desert. A part of me, I still kind of have some affection for the Raiders from the Al Davis days. I liked him as the rebel in the NFL, but those days are long, long gone. So tough times in the desert.
And before you carry on, the way you're reading the team names is the order that you have them in your preview. Is that correct?
Yes, I do believe.
So. Okay.
I'm going in order of projected division standings.
Okay, just want to make sure. I don't think we've like mentioned like, yeah, I'm projecting them to win division, but I just want to make sure that that's like how you're reading them is the order that you're reading them is how you are projecting them to finish. So
indeed, that is.
So. But yeah, yep. But people could read that on the preview. I just wanted to make sure, like while we're discussing this, that people are aware like of the order and why we're discussing them in that order.
That's true, because it's not alphabetical order, so there is a different order. And you're right.
So
all right, NFC East. Philadelphia has a clear path back to the Super Bowl. The offense is going to lean on the running game, A.J. Brown, and Devonta Smith. They know what they're about. The defense is not quite as stacked as it was last year, but they still have all the key pieces. They're still, in my mind, the clear number one favorite. I obviously like the chances. For Washington, Jayden Daniels is the truth, but it's going to be very tough for him to match performance from last year simply because he was so freaking good last year. I also don't like how the roster matches up with Philadelphia's, so it's going to be tough for them to take the division crown.
Yeah, it's like he could. They could have an easily like a worse year, and like people will look at it bad, but like they set the bar so high last year.
Indeed, they did. For the Dallas Cowboys, someone has to keep from Jarrah. Like, it's obvious. Like, if you watch the press conference where he kept calling him Micah Parsons, I mean, who might have talked?
I couldn't tell if he was doing that. I couldn't tell if he was doing that to troll or if he was just losing his mind.
I feel like it's the losing his mind part, but you're right. I should not underestimate the trolling. So I can't be certain.
Yeah.
But like either way, I've seen how he's been building his roster, and it is tough times for Dallas. And like they won Super Bowls, but they won them back in the day because of the huge Herschel Walker trade with Minnesota. And Jerry Jones was a hell of a coach, and they built a hell of a roster with those picks. But since then, they have not been back. I don't even think to an NFC Championship game. So. Yeah, it's a long, long, tough time in Dallas. All right, New York Giants. Russell Wilson's going to start for a while, but the season is all about developing Jackson Dart. And from what we've seen, there is actual sliver of hope for the future. So I'm at least a little bit excited there.
Yeah, I don't think Wilson's going to be starting all 17. I think. I mean, you're going to
that would be the biggest upset of the NFL season.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if there's a market for over/under Dart starts, but like I would imagine that
there is actually. There was, and someone posted on Twitter. I was like, so there was actually markets for Sanders and for Dart that I saw posted on Twitter.
Okay,
and I was like, under on Sanders, over on Dart.
Like what is? Yeah, what? Yeah, do you remember what the Dart was? Is it like 8.5?
It was either 3.5 or 4.5.
Oh yeah, over. Yeah, for sure.
And for Sanders, the issue is I think that the brain trust there likes Gabriel more. So,
yeah, I mean,
he doesn't have to beat out Flacco. He has to beat out Gabriel.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, Sanders is third. So, yeah. I mean, his over-under is probably like 1.5 or something, right? I don't know.
Might be now. It wasn't that then, though. At the
time okay.
I think Sanders must have been 3.5 and Dart must have been 4.5, but either way.
Okay.
So, all right. NFC North. Detroit, for the last couple of years, like 2 years ago, they had your Niners by the balls in the NFC Championship game, and they let them go instead of squeezing. And then last year, they lost at home in the divisional round in a game they're favored in against the Commanders. So, like, they've had two great opportunities to get back to the Super Bowl. Or, sorry, get back. They've never been there. Get to the Super Bowl. And at this point, the division is just brutal. So it's not going to be easy to get back just to the NFC Championship game. It's not going to be easy to win the division. So Green Bay, they are going for it, and I love the trade for Parsons. They're going to be a fun team to watch on both sides of the ball. I do think Detroit is still slightly better than them. I thought there was a decent sized gap last year, and obviously getting Parsons closes it quite a bit. But I still think Detroit's offensive line, I just like their offense a ton, and I think their defense is going to be much better now that it's healthy. So we'll see. Green Bay. They're going for blah, blah, blah. Minnesota Vikings. JJ to JJ. JJ McCarthy to Justin Jefferson. That is a lot of J's. The Vikings were a very, very good team last year, but not a great one. And we're going to see with McCarthy, can they keep it rolling? There's so many teams this year that I'm just going to be excited to watch to see what they are once the real games start. I love football.
Yeah, the fact that they moved on from a quarterback who led them to 14-3, like take some, like no matter what they did the year before with the draft, take some balls. So yeah, good on them. That makes me like not knowing anything else just makes me bullish on McCarthy only because the fact that they were so willing to move on with Darnold, even though like I know we already discussed why like Darnold's last two games, but like the fact that they saw enough from Darnold, I guess, to say like, well, he was good, but we like McCarthy better.
So let's run the hypothetical. Let's say they win one of those two games. Let's say they lose in Detroit, but don't get embarrassed. And then they beat the Rams, and then they head to Philadelphia. They lose a tough game in Philadelphia. Like, do they keep Darnold? I still don't think so. I think that they knew they wanted Jayden McCarthy. They drafted him for a reason. They view him as their guy. But it's a counterfactual we'll never be able to test. We'll never know.
I wonder at what point like you decide like, is there any alternate universe where Darnold is the starting quarterback for the Vikings this year? Like,
I mean, look, if they win the NFC, like they don't even have to win the Super Bowl. If they just win the NFC, it's very, very, very hard to move on from the guy who brought him.
Yeah, for sure.
It's very easy to move on from a guy who craps the bed against your division rival for the division.
Oh yeah, that was super. That could have been the best thing that happened to them. I guess we'll see, but that could have been the best thing for them long term. But at the same time, winning a NFC title or whatever would have been good. But anyways,
yeah, don't get me wrong. I'm sure the Vikings would have loved to go back to a Super Bowl. You're right.
Sure.
All right, Chicago. It's a new dawn. It's a new day. Eberflus is gone. Johnson is here to stay. It is time for Caleb Williams to start balling out. Like that's really what it comes down to. He's got to look like the number one overall pick in the draft. They got to make him look good. So, NFC South. Tampa Bay is blessed with some very soft competition, and they might need it if Wirfs, their left tackle, is hurt. If he's not 100%. But something else I want to talk about. I'm just happy for Baker Mayfield for having such a great second act.
Yeah.
After being hurt in Cleveland and getting punished for it.
I might have even said this in a previous pod, or maybe I just said this aloud to a friend. I don't remember, but like Mayfield's probably had the most like fascinating career in the past 10 years to me. Like I like all the dips that he's had, like going from Cleveland, like shitting the bed, like at a certain point, because I mean it was Cleveland, but I mean we don't know that at the time, and then like there's all these other paths that he finally ends up here, and he's thriving. Like it's just I know it's great. I don't know. It's a great story to me.
I agree with him. The Atlanta Falcons, they have gone all in, but for what? Like seriously, what is Atlanta thinking when they mortgage their future? I mean, I like Penix. I hope he's got a great season. It would be nice to see Atlanta reach their potential, but even at best, they aren't anything more than fringe contenders, and that's if everything works out. And if things don't work out, the Rams could have a very high draft pick in the 2026 draft, and Atlanta's going to look very, very bad. So I do not like their process on multiple levels. For Carolina, Bryce Young, either he takes a 3-year leap or he doesn't. And if he doesn't, it's bad times in Carolina. Fun fact, they're going to have to make a decision about his 5th-year option after the season. That should be fun.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully he'll make it clear, very clear, one way or the other. I don't really know what like a fuzzy season would be like, where you would be like, I'm not sure. Like hopefully for them, it's like very cut and dry. like he either like you said, he either balls out or like
he doesn't.
Yeah, or he doesn't. So like that. I mean, that would be the ideal. Like not some kind of middle ground, like 7-10, like I don't know, 8-9 season. I don't know.
Yeah, it's I don't have to make that decision, but
yeah,
I wouldn't have taken first overall at the beginning. So
sure.
New Orleans, they confound me. I get the desire to tank for Arch Manning. Archie, his great uncle, whatever, played for the Saints, and Arch could too. But why waste so much money in free agency? Why draft Tyler Shuck? Just rebuild cheaply and get out of salary jail. Like this blows my mind. They're already currently over the 2026 salary cap. So like they're gonna have to make cuts and salary cap moves no matter what else. That's insane to me. The NFC West. The 49ers aren't exactly loaded the way they used to be, but their schedule is charm and soft. Like that counts for a lot.
So
and they still have Brock Purdy, they still have Shanahan.
Yeah,
I like a lot of the pieces left.
Yeah, when we discussed this earlier, like I was emphasizing, like maybe it's just how sour I was left with at the end of the season, like how sour I felt, but I didn't consider the fact that like we're gonna have like a lower level schedule compared to our division mates just based on where we finish. So like I don't remember what divisions we're facing, but yeah, I did look at that, and yeah, it does. I do see your point. I'm hopeful that I'm wrong and you're right with this, because like there's something about the Niners that doesn't feel right to me, but I hope you're right.
So if you're curious of the divisions, they face both Souths. They face the AFC South and the NFC South, which is a great place to be. And then while the Rams get to face the Ravens, the Eagles, and the Lions, the 49ers get to face the Browns, the Giants, and the Bears.
Okay. That's fair. Yeah, I see that.
So okay. The Rams are still quietly pretty tough. I think they're actually better than the 49ers right now. But again, we've seen the difference in the schedule, and that's why I think the 49ers win the division. Just 3 relatively easy or comfortable games versus 3 fucking nightmares.
Sure.
Arizona Cardinals. A lot of people have picked them actually to be the surprise team to win the NFC West. Personally, I'd be surprised. I feel like we've seen the best we're going to see from Kyler Murray. So, Seattle. Sam Darnold will either prove his haters wrong or he'll disappoint yet another franchise. And I am betting on the latter. So, yeah.
And I think
just
looking at the week 1 line, the Niners being 2.5-point favorites, I think at Seattle, like I guess that tells me a little bit of a story. I mean, that's obviously things could. I mean, week 1 lines could be very volatile, but like that's.
I mean, this is the best information we have at the time, but obviously we're going to learn things.
So yeah, all right. So yeah, like you said, listener questions. Maple Metrics had a few. If you could be any GM on a playoff contender, what's the best potential and realistic move to make to maximize Super Bowl odds? What's the team? What's the trade? So this was before McLaurin was signed, but yeah, what would you say to that?
So again, this was before McLaurin was signed. This was before Hendrickson was signed. This was obviously before Parsons was traded. And so at the time, the trade I was thinking of was Trey Hendrickson to Detroit. because Detroit ran out of edge rushers last season, and in my mind, adding Hendrickson would have pushed them ahead of Philadelphia. Now, McLaurin to Buffalo would have been big. The issue there is it wouldn't necessarily make the immediate impact people expect because they would still need time. Like he and Allen would need time to gel together. And then in actuality, Green Bay blew both ideas away.
Yep.
They were not, in my mind, on Detroit's level before the trade, and they certainly are now. So, like, wowzers. Like, he asked this question, and I don't think either of us would have thought of Parsons to Green Bay as their answer. So,
Nope.
reality, stranger than fiction, because reality doesn't have to make sense.
Exactly. All right. His next question was, are teams too risk adverse to acquire talent to try and win the Super Bowl or trade talent and stockpile picks for the draft? NFL seems to experience much less in-season trading than other major sports, and will this change?
So I usually the only thing that happens when teams feel like they're going to have trouble keeping their stars. To me, it is a little odd how rarely teams like will strip their rosters and go into full rebuilds. And I suppose one of the things that stops them is they find it so hard to get value in future picks from the counterparties. So, like if you're holding a garage sale for all your valuable players, like with everyone knowing that you're selling, that'll drop the prices on the guys you have, and just like it's no longer worth it for you. The market is recalibrating ways that are unfortunate. On the other hand, like in terms of elite teams reaching off the brass ring, part of it is we just haven't seen teams do that successfully a ton historically. More often, like you see a chance to grab a star and you go for him. Like the Eagles grabbed AJ Brown when he was becoming available, and that was a great move for them. But they wait and they see if there's an opportunity, and then they take it. And I think that's what teams generally do. They don't pick up the phone to try and grab a star. They wait to see what will fall to them at a price they can afford.
Makes sense. Okay.
All right. Next up.
Professor Shine, curious on how Seth will grade the Rams in futures.
So as I mentioned, I think the Rams are the best team in the NFC West, but their schedule is so much harder than the 49ers schedule that like I'm just neutral on the Rams. Like good team, but schedule matters. And they again just have those three really hard games, and the 49ers don't. So I'm neutral on the Rams.
So yeah, and this leads us into an like I didn't intend this, but Griffin Haddon asked, are the Niners going to have the best record going to the postseason, but be the underdogs on a neutral to 5+ teams?
So certainly they are underdogs on neutral to at least 5 teams, and realistically more than that.
Yeah.
So I don't think they're going to have the best record, even though the schedule is so soft, simply because they're not the 49ers they were the last couple of years. Obviously, I think the Ravens are a better bet to have the best overall record. The Bills, the Eagles. So like, but they could be. They're not dead money. So yeah, they're live to go into the postseason. They're certainly live to go into the postseason as the number 1 seed in the NFC and be home underdogs against one of their matchups in the playoffs.
Fair. Okay. So Amber Gambling, I'll just run through her questions here. Your kitten, any kitty updates?
So this kitten this is kind of stolen glory. This kitten isn't actually mine because it's just a kitten that I know.
Are you so do you foster cats?
I can't.
Because
I have the
of where
2
you live.
fur balls, and my cats would not
right.
welcome the additional ruling. They wouldn't tolerate it.
So it nothing to do with like where you live. It's it's your actual the actual ones
I
that
would
you have.
love to foster
Yeah.
kittens. I just can't.
Yeah. Okay.
Due to the situation.
Okay.
Right, next up.
All right. Thoughts on Kyler Murray? Is NFC West as weak as we think it is? As I think it is, based on what you showed in your preview, just based on the win total, it seems to be a little stronger than I thought.
Well, like they're stronger than certainly the AFC or NFC South in my mind. Like the Rams are a legit team. The 49ers aren't bad. Arizona like would be a potential champion in either the AFC or NFC South. So no, I don't think the division is down that bad. I don't think it's as strong as some of the other divisions, but there are worse divisions.
All right.
So yeah.
All right. At a glance, will Chiefs be back this year? Can the Eagles not be back?
Alas, the Eagles are still here and they're still strong. Sorry about that. I'll be rooting for the Eagles every week. The Chiefs might be better than they were last year, even if the record is worse. Like the record will be worse, or at least the record will almost certainly be worse. But the Chiefs might be a better team than they were.
Okay.
So we'll see.
All right, Kirk Cousins. What is it going to be like being behind Penix?
It'll be well paid. That's what it's going to be.
Yes. Yes. All right. Can Aaron Rodgers do anything?
So like this is a question of like what does he have left? And he's 42.
Yeah.
Only Tom Brady can do the things that Rodgers is trying to do at that age. And he's not Tom Brady. So
okay. Is Joe Burrow ever going to win one? Seems like he should be up for that. He doesn't have O-line support. Why don't they fix that?
They're cheap. No, if I were to guess if there were to be a line, will Joe Burrow play in another Super Bowl or be the starting quarterback leading to the team to another Super Bowl? I would bet no. I would take under a 0.5 at even money, like on both sides. Okay. I don't expect the Bengals to ever get back. They had their one shot. They didn't take it.
Okay. Our extra question. I've been thinking of this under NIL and with recent Micah Parsons trade, the cost of messing up with a player and how financially better it would be for coordinators / coaches / GM to actively look for ways to diminish reliance on one player position. Do you ever see evidence of this?
I don't. So in terms of Parsons, we're looking at an elite pass rusher, and those guys create like the cascade effects I mentioned earlier. He gets his numbers. He makes it easier for his other edge rushers. The secondary benefits, everyone benefits. And we have the situation with the quarterbacks where you can only start one at a time. So you have the gladiator effects there. It is hard not when you have a true star, a difference maker. It's hard not to invest heavily in them. When it's time to pay them, you got to get paid, and then you're heavily invested in a single player, and that's just it is how the system is designed, how the salary cap is designed. It's going to be how NAL, insofar as they have college salary caps, whatever. I don't know how that works, but like in terms of how much money you have to spend, yeah, you got to spend it on the guys that matter.
Sure.
So I don't see that diminished key players thing anytime soon.
Okay. Next question. This is more of a fun thing, non-NFL related. From PZ here, meant to be fun. Top 3 bet the farm that you'll die on this hill moments on Twitter from Seth. In your own opinion, I know.
So my first comment is, wow, this could be its own pod. But these are the ones that come to mind immediately. Number 1 to me, I think, has to be President Jeb Bush. That one, yeah. So okay. I think number 2 for me, and this was only because it happened 2 years in a row. Connecticut men's basketball team just being a different species from every other team in the sport. Like, in my mind, their odds of winning each of those years, I would make them Munster favorites over the field. And they were like the Eagles to me, and like, yes, thank you for paying me off. Like that, and I went to those games as well. Like I enjoyed watching Connecticut basketball in person, just because they were so much better than anyone else.
Sure.
The other hill I want to key on is that Bill Russell was better than Will Chamberlain. And this alone could be its own pod. But here's the thing. Russell won in high school multiple times. He won in college multiple times. He won Olympic gold. He has more rings in the NBA than anyone else. And this was at a time when he was facing Wilt Chamberlain. Like, he is, in my mind, the GOAT. And also, like, Chamberlain was traded multiple times. If you would try to trade say, hey, is Bill Russell available? The answer from Red Auerbach would be, what are you talking about? No, never, ever.
Yeah, that year. GFY, like if they had GFY at that point.
Yeah, exactly. So like Wilt Chamberlain, his statistics are better than anyone, but was he better at playing basketball? Was he the guy that you want to build your team around to win the championship? No, that guy was Bill Russell. And the worst part is there are people who talk about individual stats aren't what's important to me. Team winning is what's important to me. And they'll say, "Oh, Wilt Chamberlain, yeah, it was obviously better than Bill Russell." No, like Bill Russell's defense was exceptional. Like if you watch him in highlights, the dude was a tremendous athlete. He could play today in today's NBA, particularly give him like modern um, nutrition and everything else, exercise techniques. Like people just do not realize how good Bill Russell was. Fun fact about Wilt Chamberlain, by the way, great, truly dominant beach volleyball player. So just throwing that out there.
It doesn't shock me. So one aside, I did want to mention this because I did have a side conversation with PZ on this. So you've been like the last like 4 podcasts, but there is talks of me doing a podcast with PZ around Thanksgiving.
Have fun. Talk about the turkey. How are you going to cook it?
We're going to be talking about wrestling / WWE Survivor Series, I think. In addition to betting stuff, but yeah, we talk. There's a few of us that talk wrestling on Twitter, and I know that some of us you might see that occasionally on there. But yeah, we're talking about doing a wrestling podcast. Just so
now, do you only do like American wrestling, or do you follow like New Japan Pro Wrestling?
Unfortunately, my stuff is my knowledge / watching is limited to American, so I can't speak to Japan. But I'm sure that I know that there's different styles, presentations, and I know that Japan has certain things that they're better at. And
yeah, I was at the Tokyo Dome for the January 4th show, which is why I bring it up.
And and there's probably stuff that I would probably like better, and that maybe that could be a discussion point. I might actually ask you for a question on that podcast.
I will be happy to send one in.
So, okay. So the last thing here, and this brings us kind of full circle to meeting you in person in 2.5 weeks again. The wife and I are going out to New York, Connecticut, Salem, Boston for our 10th anniversary, which I can't believe it's already been 10 years. So the question, we've been discussing food for a while through Twitter, like at least, or not on Twitter, on chat. And so to bring it to the pod here, your pizza / food recommendations for New York. This was a kind of a question that somebody came up with, but yeah, you could I mean, basically you're going to tell me some of the ones that we might actually go to, but like, yeah, what are the ones that you recommend, and / maybe other like general food recommendations that you might recommend?
General food recommendations will have to be, wait a second, but like, so the pizza itself, there's 5 places that come to mind, and the one that I would always choose is Prince Street Pizza.
Okay.
Because I view them as having the best Sicilian slice in the city. And when you get a great Sicilian slice, it's airy, it's crunchy, it's flavorful. It's the sauce explodes in your mouth. Just is a wonderful, wonderful slice. And Prince Street would be my number 1 choice, but it's not necessarily what your wife is looking for.
Yeah, she wants a New York slice. That's what she's looking for.
And she's probably thinking of the traditional round pie. So Lanistri is the new hotness, and they've earned all their praise. They're tremendous. They're wonderful. I've been there multiple times. Fun thing about them is, at least the one that I go to, the one that's in Manhattan, and you can get your pizza there and just walk a couple places down the block where they have a relationship with, I guess I'd call it a bar, where you can get beer or hard alcohol or whatever else and get drinks and just sit down and eat your pizza there. And it is a highly recommended New York experience. Okay. Then there's John's Bleecker, which is my actual choice for one of the 2 places I'd say is more traditional than Lanistri and Prince Street in terms of what they're doing. Like if you want what you imagine a New York slice to be, that's one of the 2 choices I'd go to. I'm going to mention Roberta's as the other. There, you can also find them in Little Italy, and they will also have a great slice or a great pie for you. One note about Roberta's is they also have their bread orders. You can order the bread there, which is not free. But they do some truly great bread if that's what you go to a pizza place for.
Okay.
And then finally, there's DeFaro's, which is the traditional king there in Brooklyn. I like DeFaro's a lot. I'd go there more often if they weren't in Brooklyn. But if I were to choose a regular, if like all these were equally accessible to me, Prince Street would still be my regular. They'd still be my number one, just because that's what I'm looking for out of a pie.
Okay. And
Those are my
I'll make sure, like I've forwarded these to my wife, but I'll definitely have her look at these again because I don't think she's come up with like a decision, and like I'm leaving this to her. Like,
oh yeah, that's fine. Whatever she chooses.
But yeah, like we'll definitely meet up. And yeah, I'm looking forward to it either way. Like, so I haven't been to New York since my road trip to baseball stadiums in 2002, so it's been a long time. So yeah, but yeah, I don't think I have anything else. My laptop battery's about to die, so I should probably.
So I just want to give one quick other just New York food recommendation.
Sure.
This is purely on the high end, but if you want like a Mad Men style experience dining out, the Grill. So that's that, and good way to close. So
all right, and I'll make sure to update everybody on my experience with Seth when we go out to eat wherever we decide to go for pizza. But Seth, once again, thank you for joining. Everyone, once again, thank you for listening, and we'll talk again soon.
Thank you very much, Brian. Have a great day.
All right, you too. Everyone have a good day. Bye.